As usual, I want to note that Garuda is far from a terrible frame. All the pieces for a lethal and fun frame exist in her kit. The wires just got crossed in some of her abilities, where, for example, her passive just ill reflects how the game plays, and conflicts with healing. If you have a Trinity, somebody drops a healing pad, you pick up a healing orb, you stand in your own healing, whatever have you. Everything just conflicts with staying at maximum damage with your passive if that's what you want to do, without dying. But that's kind of hard to do with the current damage conversion percentage, where you basically have to be dead in order to get a noticeable buff. Her passive should have just been a reflection of damage taken and given her a damage multiplier based on that. Similar to Void Strike, where as you take more damage, you build up a higher multiplier, but you only have a limited number of charges that don't refresh until the current charges are expended. Her one falls short because a monodirectional shield with a slow turning radius will not protect you. It really should have just been warding Halo, but blood. I understand how people feel about copying abilities, but really, a single volt shield was not the best choice for a close range frame. I have other qualms about the single target nature of this ability, and how DE basically made another close range Claw Mama, but I'll get to that at the end. With the changes to her passive and first ability, her second and third ability really start to shine, because then you could heal or get healed without worrying about losing your damage multiplier, and you could also spam your 3 to quickly build up that damage multiplier, assuming DE understand that the damage taken from the passive should include self-damage from your 3. Although her ult doesn't stop you from moving, it does stop all methods of jumping. It's still painful. You can't bullet jump, you can't jump normally, like you're in the air and you start casting and you become a brick. But I haven't really seen it be that useful other than making enemies bleed, which is very thematic, and slash procs are great, but it doesn't really annihilate everything. I mean, that your 1 does, but the 4, I mean, it just takes a lot of time to cast, and I don't really know what I hit. And maybe someone's thinking, hey, you should try a full power strike build.
Prepare for life support. Additional life support has arrived.
As for not equipping a melee weapon in order to utilize her claws, I'm a little salty as a Valkyr main. And even though this is technically not an exalted weapon, you can use any claw stance on them. Why don't exalted weapons do this? Why are you making a whole new animation set when we could just use any of the other stances and also get the increased capacity? And even though her claws don't bolster that nonsensical critical chance that Valkyr has, the status chance is enough to warrant condition overload, healing return, have yourself some pocket heals while dealing massive amounts of damage. Yes, and because it's just another melee weapon, you could make up for the low critical chance with Blood Rush in the Gladiator set. Ultimately, her kit just needs a few simple changes to really get her to work. However, I kind of envision something different for Garuda as like a full range bloodcaster to be truly contrary to Valkyr, such that her passive would convert damage taken, as I mentioned before, to charge blood orbs, and she would have a maximum of, say, 3 filled blood orbs, where each filled blood orb conveys 50% bonus damage. So basically 150% total when all 3 are filled. Additionally, a percentage of ability damage that she dealt would be converted into a blood shield. To a cap, her first ability would allow her to spin and strike twice, sending short-range energy swipes, similar to Excalibur's Exalted Blade, but in claw form. But the ability can be charged when at least 1 filled blood orb is available. When charged, the ability gains increased casting speed, range, and damage along with additional blood particles, almost akin to Inuyasha's Blades of Blood. When charged, her second ability could instead spike 3 enemies at once with a single cast. Lastly, for her fourth ability, I would have just let her cast Blood Rain in an area. It would still allow her to get slash procs on everything caught in the rain, but also with her new passive, it would allow her to rapidly build Blood Orb charges. Then make it so that when she casts her one under Blood Rain's effect, it allows them to bounce off of the terrain. When her second ability is used while Blood Rain is active, just have it applied to all allies under Blood Rain, regardless of where the enemy is spiked. But again, that level of change is not really necessary for her to work or be fun. That is just how I envisioned her being a counterpart to Valkyr and how I would have liked to see her play. It still gives emphasis on the claws with the bloody claw swipes without, resorting to exalted weapon stuff. If you like hearing this kind of rework nonsense, I'm really active on the forums, always going over the top with my Focus 3.0 rework and my Valkyr rework. I also have gotten back into streaming, so I'll just put all of the links in the description. I just really want to thank everybody for taking the time to listen. I hope you have a great day and continue to strive to be better than you are.